where it's day 3 of testimony in the murder trial for Collin Griffith. This is the teenager accused of stabbing his mother to death with a kitchen knife. He's claiming that this is self-defense and says that his mom, Kathy, was the aggressor. The next witness here is Collin's grandfather and the victim's dad, of course. Now, before he can testify in front of the jury, the judge is very concerned that they may go off the rails and talk about the death of Collin's father. Of course, remember, Collin shot his dad. That can't come in from this witness, and so the judge is instructing Robert Walantas, that's the grandpa. Let's watch.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that any testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. You are Robert Walantas, correct?
Yes, Judge.
All right, Mr. Walantas, the parties have asked me to speak with you a moment to make sure you understand the limits of your testimony. Mr. Levine apparently has already discussed this with you, but I do not believe, and it's been represented to me, that neither party will be asking you anything about Charles Griffith's killing in Oklahoma. Do you understand that, correct?
Yes, Judge.
And that is correct, Mr. Levine. You are not going to ask any questions about that.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Is that correct, Ms. Thornhill?
That is correct. I will not ask.
All right, so what that means is that you are prohibited from offering any testimony related to the death of Charles Griffith in Oklahoma. Do you understand that?
Yes, Judge.
Do either of you intend to even establish that Charles Griffith is dead?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, so there should be nothing even about the fact that Mr. Griffith, Charles Griffith, is dead, because they're not going to ask you anything about that, or that he was killed, or that Collin Griffith had anything to do with it, justified or unjustified, accidental or intentional. Do you understand?
Yes, Judge.
So if for some reason you think, based on the question that you're asked, that the name Charles Griffith or the phrase Collin's dad needs to come out of your mouth, I'm going to direct that you simply ask if you could have a break.
Yes, Judge.
All right. If you were to violate this order,
I will not violate it, Judge.
all right, but if you were to violate it, you might be held in contempt of court, which is punishable by jail and fines. You understand that?
Yes, Judge.
Also, I want you to understand that it would very likely cause a mistrial, which means we would have to start this case all over again. Do you understand that?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Do you have any questions about my order?
No, Judge, it sounds very reasonable. I'll respect it
All right.
to the letter, and my plan was to say nothing and ask for a break. So
All right.
you beat me to it.
All right. Have I overstepped what you wanted him instructed on, Mr. Levine?
No, Your Honor. Just for everyone's benefit, I may very well ask a question when the defendant was living in Oklahoma with his dad, but beyond that, nothing else about that.
All right. Ms. Thornhill?
Judge, this is an added request. During Mr. Walantas' testimony at the motion of limine hearing, there were a lot of opinions and conclusions offered. I would ask that he not offer those
All right.
as well.
Witnesses are supposed to testify as to what they know. Sometimes a non-expert witness, such as yourself, you're not being called as an expert, can give an opinion on something that's within everybody's common knowledge. For instance, if you see someone crying, you could probably give testimony that you thought that person was sad. That's the kind of thing that you might be able to give an opinion on. But other things that you're just speculating about, or legal conclusions you're coming to, or any other type of opinion would not be admissible through you. Do you understand that?
Yes, Judge.
I also want to encourage you, because I noticed from the hearing that you would answer a question and then give additional information, that you listen very carefully to what question is being asked of you and answer only what is being asked of you. The lawyers for both sides, know what additional information they'll want to get from you. So please don't offer that on your own. Do you understand?
Yes, Judge.
All right. Any questions?
No, sir.
Anything additional, Mr. Levine?
No, Your Honor.
Ms. Thornhill?
No, sir.
All right. So as far as Charles Griffith goes, all that you're going to be asked about is whether or not Collin Griffith was living with him at some point in Oklahoma. Understand?
Yes, Judge.
And you may answer that question.
Yes, Judge.
All right. Thank you. If you'd step outside.
Judge, it occurs to me before Mr. Walantas leaves
Yes.
that if there is going to be a question such as, while Collin was living with his dad in Oklahoma, it sounds like the rest of that question might be, did Kathy have much contact with him? And that, the basis of that objection to that would be hearsay, because he doesn't know that. He would have been told that by Kathy. So, like I said, I'm guessing at what the second part of that possible question might be, but I'm worried
Mr.
that...
Levine, is that where you were going?
No, Your Honor. My question will be something to the effect of, did the defendant live with his father in Oklahoma for a few years while Kathy remained in Florida?
All right. Thank you, sir. All right, we're ready for the jury.
Okay, they're calling for the jury, and Grandpa has been given the rules of the road. Dwayne Cates, obviously in a prior hearing, Grandpa went on and offered some things that they don't want a reoccurrence of here at trial. Very important, because as the judge said, this thing is done if he utters this information about the dead dad. It's important.
It's really important, and I really wish I could get judges in my trials to do things like this when there's a motion in limine that somebody can't testify about something, and if it's really good for the state, they sometimes witnesses will just blurt it out because they can, and so that was a very stern warning to this witness that he could be held in contempt of court, fined, and jailed if he does, and you know, I think it's very helpful. I mean, again, if the court's going to make a ruling that you can't talk about X, Y, or Z, then I think it needs to be upheld, and it's not always upheld. Okay, sometimes the prosecutor will open the door to that testimony if the defense wants to get it in. But again, I really like that. I really like that the judge did that.
Yeah, very clear. There's no way that Grandpa didn't understand the rules here as he gets ready to take the stand. The jury is now back in the courtroom. Let's go in and watch Robert Walantas on the stand.
After your daughter and her ex-husband got the divorce, did he move to Oklahoma with his son, the defendant?
Yes.
And did Christopher stay in Florida with Kathy?
Yes.
Now, did approximately 3 years go by when the defendant was living in Oklahoma with his dad before the defendant came back to Florida to live with his mom in Port Charlotte?
Yes.
Now, during that time period, what state did you live in?
New Mexico.
And is that where you still currently live?
Yes.
All right. Now, in Kathy's adult life and later in her life before she died, did you have an opportunity to go on a trip or some trips with her?
Yes.
And how would you describe your relationship with your daughter on those trips?
The trip out to California, we went through the Painted Desert, we saw the Grand Canyon. It was wonderful.
Is it difficult for you to be here today?
It is.
And what are your thoughts about the defendant?
He's my grandson. I love him. But I...
Sustained.
All right. Now, you had an opportunity to see some photographs earlier. Those are in the form of State Exhibit 179 to 185. Is that correct? I mean, you would know that, but they're photographs 179 through 185. Did you have an opportunity to see some photographs of you and your daughter?
Yes.
Your Honor, this time I would move those photographs into evidence.
No objection.
They are received.
And could I publish those to the jury, Your Honor?
You may.
Thank you. Mr. Walantas, In the first photograph, is that you and your daughter?
It is.
Do you remember where you guys were?
We were at the jungle ride at Disneyland.
What about here in 180?
That's Kathy at the Grand Canyon.
181 says Continental Divide.
It is. That's in eastern New Mexico.
And then,
I'm holding up the other side of the sign.
all right. Did the sign fall down or not?
We held it in place. Kathy and I did a good job that day.
All right. What about 183?
That is Kathy with a huge log of petrified forest. And that is the largest meteorite, or a piece of the meteor that impacted in Arizona.
And then final photograph?
That is my birth mother, and Kathy and I. So we have 3 generations there. That was for her 90th birthday.
All right. Now, Mr. Walantas, when the defendant moved back to Florida to live with Kathy, was Kathy happy about that?
She was thrilled.
Now, during the time period when, like, since then, when he moved back to Florida and lived with her, did she try to make up for lost time?
She did.
And what were some of the activities that she and your grandson would do?
They had to catch up on 3 years of school. Collin was 3 years behind. And then they also caught up on the 4th year. So he got 4 years of education done in a single year. That's a huge accomplishment. They went to Australia, Central America, the Caribbean. She wanted to give him...
Now, Mr. Walantas, what was your daughter's profession?
She was a teacher.
And what subject matter did she teach?
Mainly English, but she would do other humanities as well.
Now, tell briefly to the jury about your relationship with your grandson. Did you have a relationship with the defendant?
We would talk on the phone, but I'm not a helicopter parent. I was there to support him and to support Kathy and to love them and be there for them.
Based upon your personal observations, did it appear that the defendant trusted you and would talk to you and confide in you about certain things, grandfather, grandson topics?
Yes.
Did there come a time when the defendant said something to you that was very disturbing to you?
Yes.
Tell the jury about what the defendant said to you.
My grandson was very aggravated at his grandmother and his mother. He said, "I am so tired of these 2 bitches. I'm disgusted." He said, "My mom, I keep thinking over and over, I want to slit her throat. I want her to bleed out. I want to smell the blood. I want to feel the blood. I want to feel the life and the blood leaving her body."
Now, when he said that, what went through your mind?
I needed to take a deep breath and do what I could to discourage that thought, because thoughts become words, words become actions.
What did you say to him in response?
I said, "Collin, I love you, buddy, but you can't have those kinds of thoughts and focus on them and then speak them, because you will cause them to become reality. Please think positive things about your mom, about yourself, and about a good future together."
Now, at any point, did you warn your daughter about what the defendant was wanting to do to her?
I did, but I did not use the exact words because there was so much malice.
Objection, Judge.
Now, explain to the jury, were you concerned that if you used the exact words the defendant said that he wanted to do to his mom, that might negatively affect their mother-son relationship?
It would, and I was afraid it would actually give her nightmares.
Did you tell her a clean version or a more vanilla version, if you will?
Yes, I did.
What was her response?
That he's been threatening her, and he's been threatening Susan multiple times with killing both of them.
Now, knowing that, though, did she still want him in the household and wanted to keep having the relationship with him?
Yes.
Mr. Walantas, I don't have any other questions for you.
Okay, that was it for the direct. Wow. Grandpa's got a story to tell. That does move the needle in any case. Holy mackerel. Let's get a break, see how the defense handles Grandpa on cross-examination. Jurors, I'm sure, are absorbing that. Stay with us. Back to Court TV Live. I'm Ted Rowland's going to be with you in Florida. It's day 3 of testimony in the deadly son murder trial. 17-year-old Collin Griffith is accused of killing his mother, Kathy, just 18 months after he killed his father. The defendant says he acted in self-defense both times. Let's go back into the courtroom now. On the stand is the victim's father, and he just told a doozy of a story, saying that Collin told him that he wanted to basically cut his mother's throat and feel her blood and smell her blood coming out of her as the life left her. That was on direct. Now it's time for cross. How's the defense going to handle this witness?
You didn't come to Kathy's funeral, did you?
No.
Can you explain why?
The funeral for a person is for those left behind. I will see Kathy in my thoughts, in my mind. That's where I want to keep her. Attending a funeral where her body is placed in the ground, that's not Kathy. Kathy's spirit is elsewhere. The essence of Kathy is elsewhere. She's with me. She's here in this room today with each of you. She can speak to you. She can speak to me.
Mr. Walantas,
Ma'am?
I asked whether you went to the funeral and why. Just answer that question, please.
You interrupted me as I was explaining why. That you don't like my response, ma'am, that's your problem.
Judge, would you please?
If you would avoid the commentary and you've asked the question.
I did ask the question, but then he's talking about her being present and speaking to the jury, which is non-responsive.
Sustained as to non-responsive, that portion.
Mr. Walantas, the pictures showed a trip that you took with Kathy. That was one trip, right?
That's correct.
Have you taken any such trips with any of your other children?
No.
Do you have memory problems, Mr. Walantas?
With what, ma'am?
Just in general.
Oh, sometimes I might think it was something that occurred a week ago, and it's actually a week and a half ago.
Okay. But that's the extent of your memory problems?
Usually, yes.
When was it that you say Collin told you that he wanted to slit his mother's throat?
I believe it was 4 months before she was murdered. It may have been before that.
And Judge, I'm going to ask that he be instructed not to use terms like that. That's for the jury to decide.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is up to you to decide whether or not there was a murder in this case. You'll disregard that, the use of that word.
Mr. Walantas, please tell us the month, if you remember, that Collin supposedly told you the things that you've shared with the jury today.
May.
May of what year?
2024.
Okay. And how did he tell you? Was it over the phone or by text?
Over the phone.
Okay. And what's your phone number?
505 This is being broadcast. I really don't want everybody calling me.
Would you shut the feed off, please, for just a moment? It's on. It's on.
Mr. Walantas, do you have any other phone numbers that Collin would have talked to you on?
No.
And you're certain that the phone call happened in May of 2024, aren't you? Because you said it happened shortly before the presidential debate where Joseph Biden had to later withdraw from the presidential race, correct?
It was before that. How much before that? Was it a month? Was it a month and a half? Could it have been 2 months? Sure.
Okay, let's get a break, but before we do, let's bring in Dwayne Cates. Grandpa, his story is the way he told it too. It really is sort of chilling, very chilling, and I found it very effective. How is the defense doing, in your opinion, in terms of trying, because now at this point they got to make him sound crazy, don't believe Grandpa, that didn't happen, because if the jury believes this story, Collin is going down. How do you think the defense is doing in that endeavor, and how is Grandpa doing holding up?
Well, I think they're doing the best they can. I mean, they're calling into question his memory about, when this happened, how long ago it happened, things like that. And that's the best you can do, because that was devastating to the defense. I mean, it just was. And so you've got to do everything you can to make Grandpa look like a crazy old man.
Yeah, and what about the story that he fantasized about cutting his mother's throat and smelling and feeling the blood and watching her life spill out of her? I mean, that sounds like, well, if that really happened, someone should have called authorities, or you got to get this kid help. If that's going through his mind and he's articulating it to Grandpa, that's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. And he did tell his daughter, and his daughter didn't want to take action. I guess that's one of the proper things to do, because he's, I don't think he was told that face to face. I think he was in New Mexico and his son was in Florida. And so I think he called his daughter and said, "Hey, this is crazy. You need to talk to him about this. You need to do something about this." And there's not much you can do. I mean, you can't get arrested for something you're talking about doing. Okay, and so they could try to get him into a psych ward or something. And I guess he could be a danger to himself or others, and they could do a psych hold on him.